Welcome to the Pistons Talk podcast, and you guessed it, we'll only be talking about the Detroit Pistons. So do us a favor and hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and drop a rating. If you're watching us on YouTube, you'll see our ads across all of our social medias. If you're listening to the audio version, follow me at Lance Caprosi and follow my co-host Anthony at Pistons Talk.
If you guys are watching live on YouTube with us, smash that like button. We'll do a Q&A at the end of the podcast, so you guys have any type of questions, we're going to answer all your questions that you guys do have. But Lance, I know you prepped for this week's podcast, tons of stuff to get to. Marvin Bagley smoke on Twitter, Cade looking like, he's just beefing up. Like, it's crazy, man. Like, let's get into it.
Yeah, but real quick, because you brought that up with Marvin Bagley and the smoke that he got. What is up with Kings fans trying to go get into a rivalry with Detroit Pistons fans? I don't understand it.
I don't know, but I got to give a shout out to my guy, Czar. Czar put that guy in a body bag, and then Bagley chimed in, bro. I was laughing so damn hard.
I had to go back and look at it because I was off social media yesterday, but when I logged in today and I checked it all out, I died laughing. I was sharing it with everybody at dinner tonight. Like, we usually do like a family dinner on Sundays and everything. And I come from a Pistons family. Like, we love watching the Pistons. So anything I can bring to the table to make them laugh, and everybody in my family got a good kick out of that. And we're all just a little confused though, because there shouldn't be a beef between Sacramento and Detroit. It just makes no sense. Like, Sacramento needs to get a championship first before they, try to start something with the Detroit Pistons.
I don't get it. Maybe because they took Marvin Bagley over Luka and they're still not over it. But I mean, he's a Detroit Piston now, and that's all that matters. And they need to just move on, honestly.
This is true. Speaking of people moving on, we might need to say something to Richard Jefferson, man. And we might need to try to sign a petition to get him off the air, because this dude, he was kind of talking a little smack about Cade Cunningham the other day. I don't know what show he was on, but I 100% disagree with him. He said Evan Mobley should go number one in a redraft, and I don't know where he said he would put Cade in the redraft, but if it's not number one, it's wrong.
Yeah, I agree. This for some context for people listening and watching live. They were talking about Kevin Durant and if the Toronto Raptors should be in the mix for Kevin Durant and involving Scottie Barnes. So that's a little context to it, but to your point, I 100% agree with you. I think in any redraft, Cade goes 1, and I think Scottie Barnes goes 2. I think Evan Mobley goes 3.
Ooh, I think in the redraft, so 2, 3, and 4, number 1, it's Cade solidified. He's number 1, no doubt about it. Doesn't matter when you're doing the redraft, whether it's now or 5 years from now, it's always going to be Cade. But 2, 3, and 4, I think I would go. I love Scottie Barnes. Just let me put that out there. I was probably his only fan after he was drafted. I might have been a Toronto Raptors fan just for a brief second, because I loved Scottie Barnes in college, and he was not getting no love when he was drafted. But I would take Evan Mobley number 2. I would take Scottie number 3, and then I would take Jalen Green number 4. That'd be my top 4 in the redraft.
Maybe it's recency bias. When I saw Jared Allen get hurt, and they had one of the worst defenses in the league when Jared Allen was out, and Evan Mobley was supposed to be that guy, but he's only a rookie. I got to chill a little bit, but I'm really high on Scottie Barnes. I think right behind Cade, I think he could be a superstar in this league if he develops some type of a consistent jump shot.
Well, I'm glad that you and I are doing this podcast and we're both fans of Scottie Barnes. I love that. The one thing I was going to say, though, about Cade Cunningham going number 1 and just redoing the draft and everything. Well, actually, no, I wasn't even going to say nothing about that because I said my order. What I was going to say was, if you listen to the podcast last week, the theme of these openers are me kind of trashing the Houston Rockets and Jalen Green. No apologies from me. I mean every single thing that I said about it. But Richard Jefferson is nuts. He's crazy. He knows Cade is the number 1 pick in any redraft. But speaking of Cade, looking a little beefy this summer.
Bro. I know he says he's a vegetarian, but come on, man.
Yeah, I'm thinking Ashton might be slipping some meat products into his meals if he's cooking for him, because that dude, he looks swole. He got some, he looks thicker. He looks like he's ready for a full 82 games and the playoffs. That's what he looks like he's ready for. The beard is looking nice. The hair is looking nice. The team is looking good. But Cade, I just got to say, he put in work this offseason for sure.
Oh, he did. And I know I was on a podcast earlier this year with Sean Murphy from Half Court. Shout out to those guys. And Ashton said that, they were really working out hard. He said the regimen that they was going to put Cade through in the offseason was a really tough one. And obviously, Cade put in the work this summer. And, dude, he's like, his arms have probably tripled in size. Like, it's insane. Like, all those fouls that he wasn't getting, he's just going to bully his way to the basket now. Like, he's like, you're not going to call a foul? Fine, I'll beef up. He took the Michael Jordan approach.
Yeah, I don't know who has better arms, either him or Desmond Bane, but they both got great looking arms. Like, look, I like to work out, so it's things I notice. I'm just putting that out there as well. But Cade, even though he looked like he beefed up, like, what's one thing you're expecting him to add to his game going into next season with the added weight?
I think more of a post-up game.
Yep, that's what I was going to say.
I don't know what his official weight is now, but like, let's just say he added 10 pounds. Why not, post up? He's tall enough. He gets doubled. He can just, kick it out to the corner. Maybe Sadiq's wide open. I think I'm getting really excited just thinking about it in my head. Like, I can't even compose a sentence right now.
No, this was kind of the thing I was hoping for during the offseason. I was hoping he would get a little beefier, get a little stronger, and then I loved watching Luka in the playoffs when he would go to the post and play a little bully ball and had a handful of moves. And when he was doing that, I envisioned Cade doing that. The only thing I needed Cade to do was get a little bigger, and that's exactly what he did. I fully expect him to take advantage of his size when guards are guarding him in the post. Like, he did it a few times during his rookie year. I remember one play in particular. I believe it was against the New Orleans Pelicans. He was running up the floor. He waved off Sadiq Bey and Killian Hayes, or maybe Hamid Diallo, I forget. But he waved them off to the other side, and he just started backing guys down. And I just remember that. I'm thinking, yes, that is what I want to see more from Cade coming up in the next year. And he finally has the body to do it. So this is definitely going to be exciting.
It is. We finally have a star on the Detroit Pistons that takes his offseason seriously. No rap music, no, posting 3-pointers when we know you're not going to shoot them. We actually have someone that takes, basketball seriously. And I think a lot of Detroit fans love that.
We definitely do, and we definitely deserved it, though. Real quick, before we move on, I do want to say one thing. I posted something on Twitter about Isaiah Stewart shooting threes. I think it was like, I know Detroit fans are watching these videos of Isaiah Stewart drain threes. And someone commented, like, dude, look, this is Detroit. We're used to seeing Andre Drummond do this. Look, the difference is Isaiah Stewart has done it in the regular season. Not as consistently yet. Like when he's in an empty gym, but he has made threes during the regular season. So I think it's just going to be a continued trend. It's nothing like Andre Drummond at all. Nothing like that at all.
Is it me, or did his form get a little bit more smoother in that video?
Dude, it was very consistent. Every shot he took, at least in the video I saw, I think you're the one that posted it, and his form looked like the same on every single shot. And his, like, when he was stepping into it, it looked beautiful. I mean, it's a simple thing to, when you're in like a pick and pop, just to catch and shoot, but to be able to get that rhythm down of stepping into your shot and firing it the same way every single time, that is development, and that is work, and that is developing that consistency from the outside that I think we're going to see from Isaiah Stewart this upcoming season.
For sure. And I got to thank New Recruit Media for tagging me in that video in the first place. They've been tagging me in a bunch of videos. If you guys do want to watch the video, it is on my Instagram and Twitter for people asking. But I mean, dude, like, I'm excited. What did I say last podcast? I want to see him shoot three-pointers more. I mean, if he can do that consistently, man, I think he's going to be the starting center on this team.
Real quick, again, I know I just said this, but over-under on 150 three-pointers attempted for Isaiah Stewart. Do you think we're getting over 150 or under 150 from him this upcoming season?
Probably under.
Okay. Yeah. I was thinking kind of like 95. 150 might be like a little too much, but you never know. I mean, he might get comfortable from the outside.
Yeah, Casey would have an aneurysm if that happened.
Oh, man. Well, thankfully we got, other coaches on the bench.
Yeah,
I'm kidding. I don't want anything to happen to Coach Casey.
No, me either. I love him. Good guy.
So coming up next, we got news and rumors. We're going to share with you guys all of the news and rumors we picked up this week. That could have been a much better segue into the next segment. But anyways, the Knicks are trading center Nerlens Noel and guard Alec Burks to the Pistons. Sources told ESPN the Knicks will unload about 19 more in salary. We all heard the news, but we're going to talk about this. This comes from Adrian Wojnarowski. Do you like the fit for both of these players?
I do, because it kind of fills a need that we didn't have before the trade. I think me and you talked about it last podcast, talking about, hey, look, we need more shooting. Well, Alex Burke provides, 3-point shooting. I mean, he's shot 40% from three over the last 3 seasons. And, you go look at his stats, half of his shots for 3-point attempts is last season, or actually this season with the Knicks. So that's a positive, because we were a really bad 3-point shooting team last season. And Noel brings something that I think we didn't have last year, and that is a veteran presence that can provide elite shot blocking. A year ago, he was averaging 2.2 blocks per game. And I think if he can get back to that level, he can teach Isaiah Stewart, the timing. He can teach Jalen Duren, where to be in the right spots at the right time. I know some people like to bring up he only played 25 games last year, but, I think he's going to play more than 25 games this year. I think he was just, having nagging injuries from, the year before. But I really like this signing for Detroit. And, the Knicks get Jalen Brunson, so I'm sure they're happy.
Yeah, also, too, though, Nerlens Noel and Alec Burks, they were both big contributors to the Knicks the season before when they actually made the playoffs. Like, they know how to contribute to winning basketball. I don't think that should be overlooked. But, like, also last week we were talking about shooting, and we were talking about having a jumpy big man in the starting lineup, because you and I both believe Marvin Bagley is not – I mean, at least I shouldn't speak for you, but based on the conversation we had last week, I think we both agreed that Marvin Bagley shouldn't be the starter for the Detroit Pistons. He's more of a bench player, and kind of solidified in that role. But, with Nerlens Noel, you get a jumpy big. A guy, like you said, can protect the rim. He averaged 2.2 blocks per game. He's a decent rebounder. The thing is, even though he was a lottery pick, he's been bouncing around the league. So there is there's maturity on his behalf where he knows how to be a veteran. He knows what it takes. Like, there's a reason he keeps getting contract after contract after contract. It may not always be with the same team, but that shows growth, that shows maturity, and that shows that teams are interested in what he brings to their team. So I love the Nerlens Noel. Alec Burke, in my opinion, dude, super underrated two guard. He's just always hurt. That's the biggest thing. He's only played 5 seasons where he's had 64 or more games that he's played in a season. Everything else is less than that. But like you said, 40% shooter the last 3 seasons, career 38% shooter. He's a decent defender. He can play both guard spots. He can play point guard in a pinch if you need him to. He still has good size if you want to slide him over to 3 to be creative with the lineup if you want it all. But I personally love both of the signings. And I started to think about it because, again, we're going back to Troy Weaver in his first offseason with the Pistons, and he said by year 3, this team should be not contending for the playoffs, but trying to make a push. So let me ask you, do you think trading for both of these guys, Nerlens Noel and Alec Burks, is in a way that the Pistons are turning a corner to push for the playoffs this upcoming season?
Well, I think you have a starting 2 guard in Burks, which I think that was my biggest complaint this offseason is, you need a starting 2 guard. You got a starting 2 guard next to Cade, no Corey Joseph, thank God. And Noel, he could start. If you feel that Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren or Kelly Olynyk aren't the answer at the center position, he could start. I mean, he's going to, get you a little bit of points, maybe average, 6 or 7 rebounds, block a few shots. Really good in the pick and roll. I mean, if you're really focused on winning, you're going to start both of these guys. In terms of pushing for the playoffs, I kind of want to tamper my expectations a little bit until I know we're actually done in free agency. We still have $9 million left. I don't know if Troy's going to get involved in any of these Kevin Durant trades or whatever. You never know if he's going to move some cap around. I feel like we're going to have at least one more move for this roster, and I have no idea what the hell he's going to do.
Oh, I mean, I'm just more talking about the fact that he brought in a guy like Nerlens Noel and a guy like Alec Burks, solid veterans. They're going to give you each 22 plus minutes per night. Alex Burke is probably going to be the starting two guard. I believe Nerlens Noel will either be the 4 or the 5 next to Isaiah Stewart. I feel like the Pistons this upcoming year are going to go for more of a 2 big man lineup like you've seen in Boston and some other teams out there as well. But I do think this move is signaling that the Pistons are done with the rebuild. They have their core players in place, and now they want to surround those core players with veterans that can help them win. So I think this trade really does signify that the Pistons are trying to make a push for the playoffs, or they're at least going to try to be more competitive. I don't think the Pistons are going to go into next year with the purpose of tanking for another pick. That was my thought originally, just because I didn't know that they were going to let Luka Garza go. I thought Jamarco Pickett would still be on the team as well. Just guys like that. Like if the Pistons had gone into next season with all of these G League guys or, these guys that are on the fringe of being on an NBA team, then I would say, yeah, dude, there's no chance of the playoffs. That's more of a tank team. But they've cut the fat and they've replaced it with like the good kind of meat that you want on the bone. And that's what you get with Nerlens Noel and Alec Berg. But what do you think about these two? Are you think they're going to be here in Detroit for a while, or are you kind of agreeing with other Pistons fans that they might just be trade deadline pieces?
I don't think they'll be here long term. I think, you look at their contracts, they have club options next year. So, if they just stink this year, we can let them go. No strings attached. I don't think they're going to be here long term. No, I think, it's just a prove it year for them. Like if they really go out and ball, maybe Troy gives them a new contract. Who knows?
I think it's like if the Pistons win early enough in the season, these two are going to be here for the entire season. And I think, depending on like how they played with the team and how they meshed, I think they could both be picked up. But again, it's too early to even say if the team will pick up their team options. But my point is, if this team is winning early in the season, yeah, I don't expect these two guys to be traded. Now, if the Pistons start losing at the beginning of the year and that playoff window is closed, yeah, I would expect both of these guys to be traded for contenders, probably for a couple second-round picks, maybe at the most, maybe another young player, another expiring deal, who knows. But in terms of like long-term, I don't want to say I see them here for like 3-4 years. But again, it depends on how much the Pistons are winning. But I could see both of them being here for about 2 seasons if things go right in like almost a perfect situation.
Yeah, like I know some fans think that these guys are just going to be like, trading deadline assets. The teams are just going to knock on our door wanting, Nerlens Noel and Alec Burke. I mean, we've seen like what we've got for Fima Luke. You got Hami Diallo, and we traded a second-round pick. Like, I think these guys, obviously, they're going to be on expiring deals, and if a team wants to unload on cap space, sure, if the Pistons want to do that. But I mean, like you said, I think if they produce, they're going to be here for a long time. But if they don't, I don't really see a scenario where we're actually getting, a good return on them.
Do you think like the trading for Nerlens Noel was kind of I'm not saying Jalen Duren is going to be Nerlens Noel, but they're kind of similar players, right? Like they're good, they're strong rebounders, they like to protect the rim, they're athletic, their offense is usually within like 5 feet of the basket. Do you think that the Pistons traded for Nerlens Noel to kind of give not just Pistons fans a look about how Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren were going to play, but also more of like Isaiah Stewart, you're going to be playing with Jalen Duren for a long time. Let's get you used to playing with the jumpy, athletic big.
That could have gone into the thought process when they're trading for it, trying to find a guy that's similar. But I don't know. I'd love to be a fly in the room with Troy Weaver. I really don't know. I think, what he brings is just a guy that's done it, like you said, can block shots, play good defense, a communicator out there on the defensive end of the floor. I mean, I remember it might have been Reggie Jackson a few years ago. I mean, he went to the cup so many times. Noel was swatting it like left and right. Like every time he just got blocking it. And, it's just like, that's the type of thing I think that the Pistons have been missing for a long time is like a rim protector. We haven't had a rim protector in quite some time. And I think he can't provide that. I think he's a really good big for Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren to learn from.
100%, 100%. And Marvin Bagley, he might be able to learn from him. But speaking of him, Marvin Bagley III reached an agreement with the Detroit Pistons on a 3-year, $37 million deal. The news was reported by Chris Haynes. It's a no player, no team option, 3 years, $37.5 million. So the news pops up on your screen. What were your first thoughts on that contract?
That the Pistons want to keep him and they see him as a key piece of the future. I think if Bagley wasn't a part of the future, they would have just let him go. The fact that they committed 3 years and 37 million tells me that they think that there's something there that they can, continue to develop. You saw when he was in the starting lineup with Cade, he was an instant lob threat. Now, I have a feeling he might be in the starting lineup. I don't know why. I know some people think Isaiah Livers makes more sense in the starting lineup, but I think you might see Bagley be the starting four next to Sadiq to start the season.
Ooh, wow. So you do think Marvin Bagley is going to be the starter for the Pistons? My bad. I did not mean to speak for you. You should have just told me to shut up. My bad.
It's all good, man.
Yeah, no, it's okay. You'd be like, dude, pump the brakes a little bit. Don't speak for me, bro. I love Marvin Bagley. I personally don't see him starting for the Pistons. I love him as that sixth man. I mean, he averaged 15 and 7 off the bench last year in 18 games. Like, a six man doesn't have to be like a guard, for a team. Yeah. So, but to be able to have a big man that I believe can play with Isaiah Stewart, and you could probably put him in some lineups with Jalen Duren. I mean, again, you already know my thoughts on Jalen Duren. I think he's going to be in the G League to start the year. But I do think that Marvin Bagley, Jalen Duren, and Isaiah Stewart, that all three of those guys can be on the floor together. Maybe not all three of them at one time, but Marvin Bagley's interchangeable between both. Like, you're not going to lose too much between those three. It's almost like a three-headed monster that the Pistons have right there. But do you think it's an overpay, the 3 years, $37.5 million?
So I was thinking about this a lot. Like, my initial reaction was like, yeah, it's an overpay. But then I'm looking at some of the contracts these bigs are getting, like what Mo Bamba got. And, the other, I don't want to say like backup bigs, but like Bagley is, in a sense, like on a championship team, he's probably a backup. I think this deal will age very well when we're looking at the new CBA deals in a few years. I think 3 years, 37 million. Average salary around like 12 million per year. I think the Pistons did a pretty good job with this signing.
Originally, because there was an Athletic article that was written by James Edwards sometime in April where he had projected the contract to be like 3 years, and I believe for like $24 million. So I had jumped on the Marvin Bagley train at like 8 to 9, maybe 10 million a year. Originally, when I saw the contract, I thought it was a slight overpay where I'm like, he's not much of a defender. He doesn't have like the most consistent jump shot from outside. He is capable from shooting threes. He is pretty left-handed dominant when it comes to the post. I've seen him a few times where he rolled to the middle of the lane where I thought if he had just gone up with his right hand, I'm like, dude, you got an easy 2 points. But, like, anyways, every player comes with their pros and cons. But now I'm on the train of 33 years, $37.5 million. It's not a bad deal for Marvin Bagley. Like, he's only 22 years old. He averaged 15 and 7. He can be a spot starter. He can come off the bench. He seems to have a pretty good attitude since he was traded to Detroit. Like, I'm all for it. So 12 years for Marvin Bagley, it's not that bad of a deal, especially like the Pistons have so many guys on rookie contracts. Like, you can kind of overpay for a player for at least a couple more seasons where it won't really break the bank or hurt any future moves. But a point you made, the new CBA coming out in a few years, this contract is going to be pennies at that point. So that was a great point to bring up too. Do you think, though, that Pistons fans are like a little too harsh on Marvin Bagley and what he brings to a team as a player?
Yeah, but before I get to that, you said 12 years instead of 12 million.
Yeah. That's. I almost said 30. I almost said 30 million a year too, and I'm like, wow, what am I doing, man? Holy crap!
I had to catch that for a minute because I know someone's gonna say, "Wow, really, 12 years?" But do I think they're being harsh on him? No, Kings fans are though. I don't know what their deal is with Marvin Bagley. They need to move on. Like, honestly, like, I don't know why you're going on Twitter, talking crap about him personally. I really don't get that. But I think when he got here in Detroit and he was happy, he was playing really well. Seemed like every other highlight was a lob from Cade Cunningham to him. I think he wants to be here. I think he's going to be producing at a high level. And, I think most Pistons fans are really happy that he actually got re-signed.
See, there's this just little group of Pistons fans on Twitter. That's where I noticed most of it, where they nitpick so much of Marvin Bagley's game. They're like, "Well, he's a terrible defender. He can't do this. He can't do that. Like he only has like 3 post moves." It's like, dude, no basketball player is perfect. Every basketball player, from Michael Jordan to Marvin Bagley, they come with some sort of baggage. They're always going to leave us with us wanting them to do more,
Yeah.
and like I think Marvin Bagley is a fine player. Like I don't think he's this Hall of Fame future MVP type player. He's just a solid guy that knows his role. He has a couple of strengths, like he's a good second jumper. He can get way above the rim to catch lobs. He seems to be a pretty good offensive rebounder. He has good footwork in the post. He has a couple post moves he can go to. He's a solid player, and I just can't stand that little group of Pistons
Yeah.
fans that are just so negative about every single player. Like it bleeds over to Isaiah Stewart too, where it's like, well, he can't do this, he can't do that. You know what? Just stop paying attention to what he can't do and just start noticing what they can do and be happy about that.
Yeah, fans like that, they nitpick Cade Cunningham. They were saying that he was a bust because he was shooting 16% his first game. It's just like, come on, you guys. Like, no player is perfect. Does Marvin Bagley have flaws? Yes, he does. Is he a bad defender? Yes, he is. But I don't need him to be a lockdown defender. I don't need him to be prime Shaq. I just need him to play his role, whether that's starting, whether that's coming off the bench, providing a spark. I think he's a guy that fits to what Detroit wants to do, and that's all we can really ask for as fans.
No, 100%, 100%. And like, how many guys in the league are averaging 15 and 7 off the bench? You know what I'm saying? Like that's a good number for Marvin Bagley on this team. That's what they need. They need a guy off the bench that can bring those type of, can do those type of things. But
For sure.
speaking of guys coming off the bench, being able to do a couple special things, Kevin Knox has agreed to a 2-year deal, $6 million, a $6 million deal with the Detroit Pistons. This comes from Shams Charania. I'm all in on the sign-in. I have a thing for 6'8" Swiss Army knife forwards. Like if I'm buying a jersey this year, it's a Kevin Knox jersey for sure, 100%. It is
Over
a Kevin.
Ivy?
Oh, dude, over Ivy. Like, dude, I love Kevin Knox, dude. Like, there's just I don't know. Like, I was a huge fan of like Press. There's this book. It's all about Pistol Pete. It's about Pistol Pete's dad, Press Maravich, and Press Maravich's dream was having like a starting lineup of all 6'8" guys that could all dribble the ball, all pass, could all play defense. And like ever since I read that book, I fell in love with 6'8" Swiss Army knives. And Kevin Knox is like in that mold. It's perfect. I love it. So, but like, what are your thoughts on Kevin Knox and what kind of role do you see him having on this team this year?
I think him and Hamidou Diallo are going to be fighting for minutes off the bench. I know I sent you that picture because they're reuniting. Both went to the University of Kentucky. So we got some Kentucky alum on this team. I think his role is just going to be, a backup for Saddiq Bey, honestly. Even him and Isaiah Livers could compete for minutes. The only thing that was really confusing when I'm looking at his numbers, shot 35% from three in New York, right? Not bad. Goes with Atlanta, shoots 19% from three. It's just like, man, it's just like, I know Atlanta's a better team than New York. I know they're better coached.
Yeah, but I mean, I wonder if it's just like them putting him in certain positions. Like, maybe New York allowed him a little bit more freedom.
Yeah.
I don't know, though. Like, it kind of seems like both situations really weren't perfect for Kevin Knox, though. Like, you're being coached by Thibodeau. He is a good coach, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't really like young players. He's a little bit harder on them. He doesn't allow them to play through their mistakes. I mean, you're seeing what happens with Cam Reddish as soon as he got traded. But then Kevin Knox goes to Atlanta and his numbers just take a huge dip. And that's more of like, to me at least, it was more of a team that wanted to push the ball. They wanted to get shots up. It seemed like a guy like Kevin Knox, who, in my opinion, is more of a volume shooter, volume scorer at this stage of his career. Not a great one by any means, but you would think in an offense like that, where they're just pushing the ball, trying to get as many possessions as they can, he would thrive. But something went wrong. I wonder if it's like a confidence issue with him, though.
It could be another project by Troy Weaver. I mean, someone mentioned, I don't know who it was on Twitter. They're like, it reminds me of the Josh Jackson signing from a few years ago. Take a chance on a guy that was a lottery pick in 2018. I believe he went 9th overall. Maybe he could have a resurgence here in Detroit. We don't really know. I mean, you didn't really commit too much money to him. We got $3 million a year. I mean, I think most Pistons fans, when they saw the signing, they're like, dude, really? That's all we could get? But I honestly think he's a really good, backup 3 for the money.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a good gamble. Like, it really is. I mean, I think it's kind of like a Trey Lyles move. I mean, Trey Lyles was a little bit older than him, but, they're both 6'7", 6'8", 6'9" forwards. They can shoot outside. They're more of offensive threats. They don't bring a ton defensively. They're not, I mean, they're kind of like a black hole offensively, essentially, too. The moment you throw the ball in there, who knows if you're ever going to see it for maybe even a few possessions. Trey Lyles, he was king of keeping the ball in his hands. I think the same thing is going to be for Kevin Knox, but truthfully, his role in this team, I think he's just going to be at the end of the bench. I don't think you're going to see a lot of him this year unless there's injuries, unless there's a blowout, whether the Pistons are winning or whether they're losing. You're just not going to see a lot of Kevin Knox. I think he's a project player. You might even see him more with the Motor City Cruise than actually the Detroit Pistons.
Damn.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, he's only like 22 or 23 years old. It's just,
No.
there's not a lot. I mean, like, look, I said it. I love 6'8" Swiss Army knife, man. I really do. But Kevin Knox, you got to prove it. You really got to prove it in Detroit, man. We want something. But how do you feel about Troy Weaver taking a gamble on all these project players?
When I looked at kind of re-signing Bagley, getting Knox. Now I know you said it. You said playoffs. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking Troy's looking at the teams in the Eastern Conference, and he's saying, "Okay, I'm going to play the long game. We might win maybe 30 to 36 games this year, but we're still going to be a lottery team." I think he's playing the long game. Like, obviously, he's got his building blocks. You got Cade, you got Jaden, you got Killian Hayes, Isaiah Stewart, Sadiq Bey. I think Troy wants to spend at least one more year in that lottery to really, develop this team, go for those big fish. I mean, we could have went for DeAndre Ayton, but we didn't. We could have went for Miles Bridges. Thank God we didn't. I'm sure we'll get into that later, but I think when I look at this signing, I think it's just Troy reading the room, reading where the Eastern Conference is right now. There's a lot of competition right there. And I don't think he just wants to settle to be a 6 and an 8 seed. I think he's trying to build this team long term and for us to be a contender in the East for years to come.
No, I mean, I like that sentiment though too. And I'm not saying, I just want to be clear to people listening to this. I'm not saying the Pistons are a playoff team. I just think bringing in veterans like Nerlens Noel and Alec Burke is more of a change in the direction to make a push for the playoffs. If that window is open this year, if it's not open, then forget about it. I mean, it's just, you're bringing 2 veterans in to help groom the other guys. You know what I'm saying? To be a teacher to those guys, mentor them, I should say. But I want to go back to my question though, how I feel about Troy Weaver taking a gamble on project players. I love it, to be honest with you, man. Yeah. I feel like I don't always feel this way about players, but I do feel like a lot of players get stuck in really crappy situations. I mean, New York is not the city for every single player. I remember going back, I remember them drafting Kevin Knox and kind of thinking about it where I'm like, he's not really a flashy guy. I don't remember him being too much in the media when he was in college. I never really heard too much about him in New York. It's one of the biggest stages in all of sports. You have all eyes watching on you, whether you win or you lose in New York. There's always people watching you. It takes a certain type of person and a certain type of player to thrive in a city like that. And Kevin Knox, I just don't think that was the right place for him. I think for him personally, and even guys like Josh Jackson and, Marvin Bagley, you go to a city like Detroit, you get to take a step back. You get to breathe a little bit. You're in a different environment where they want to coach you up and develop you to be a real player in this league. They don't just want to throw you to the wolves right away and just to see what you're made of. Other teams want to do that. So this gamble by Troy Weaver every single offseason, it seems like, I love it because a lot of these young guys, there's a lot more to their games than what they're leading on just because they're in such terrible situations.
Yeah, I mean, that's another way to look at the project players that he's brought in. I mean, I'm thinking of Dennis Smith Jr. He had a couple good games here when he was in Detroit. I mean, Josh Jackson was another one. Jahlil Okafor, who got us the first pick. I have my conspiracy theory with Jahlil Okafor. That's why the Pistons didn't get the first pick this year.
Because they let him go too early. I just don't think the Pistons would have ever got 2 in a row. How many times has that happened?
I know. It's just like, I don't know if you saw the conspiracy theories on Reddit with him.
Oh, yeah,
Where,
he's
like,
been on, 4 teams that have gotten the number 1 overall pick back to back to back.
yeah, I was
It's
just like, man,
unbelievable.
it's like, why did we let him go? Come on, man.
So, speaking of Dennis Smith Jr., this is a little off topic, but when he was in Detroit, did you ever think he would have like a resurgence like Kyle Lowry, where the first couple of years were just kind of like meandering, where he really didn't get too much of an opportunity, and then he goes to the right team and he becomes an all-star? Because that's what I thought with Dennis Smith Jr. I thought he'd be the next Kyle Lowry.
I didn't think that.
Oh, okay. That's
I'll tell you that much, but I thought that the return they got for Derrick Rose, a guy that was a former lottery pick, who had a lot of hype coming out of college. I thought it was a good trade. Did I think he was going to be, like you said, the next Kyle Lowry? No. I do think that he did show some flashes, though, here. I thought he was starting to put it together. And then I think he had an injury at the end of the season. We really didn't get to see him play. But, I mean, he was pretty good in Portland last year when Dame was out. He was putting up some pretty good numbers.
Yeah, I remember he had like a little bit of a run with Detroit early on before he got hurt, where I think it was like 3 or 4 games or something. And in though that span, I was like, dude, this dude, we might have got a steal. He might be the next Kyle Lowry. But also, like, if you look at Kyle Lowry and Dennis Smith Jr., they kind of look the same physically. Like they have like the bigger cabooses and everything. So that was probably something with it too, where I'm like, physically, he kind of looks like Kyle Lowry. Oh, yeah. So here are his stats for like a quick little streak. It was 6 games. He had 14, 11, 17, 7, 10, and 12. And it looked like he had 11 assists. He had a triple double in that time frame. He had a 10, 12, and 11 game. Yeah, he looked pretty solid in a 6-game window for the Detroit Pistons, and that's probably more of what I was talking about with Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, man. I don't even want to touch your comment with him and Kyle Lowry. I cannot say Kyle Lowry. There we go. Their asses. I didn't think about that at all. Like I didn't, but I mean, the fact that you get there, man.
Look, when we were watching Saddiq Bey and Isaiah Stewart and Killian Hayes rookie year. That was a bad year. There wasn't a lot to watch. So your mind wanders and your eyes drift. And you're like, all right, cool. I see it. Yeah, like physically, they look kind of the same.
Did not even pop in my mind. I didn't even think that.
Okay, but I guarantee you this year is probably going to happen to you. You're going to be like, I remember Lance was talking about this. I see it.
I can guarantee you that will never happen.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Hey, like to the people listening and the people watching, we promised you it would only be about the Detroit Pistons. So we'll get back to talking about the Detroit Pistons. Are fans undervaluing Isaiah Stewart? This is like a big thing that I've been thinking about a lot this week. Mm-hmm. I'm not there's a group of Pistons fans that think he'd be better off the bench as like a high energy role player. I get that. Not calling you guys out. I'm calling out the people that just forget about Isaiah Stewart. They're like, oh, look, we got Jalen Duren. We don't need Isaiah Stewart anymore. We got this young kid out of Memphis. He's only 18 years old. He looks like Dwight Howard. He's blocked a few shots. He looks good. Let's get rid of Isaiah Stewart. Those fans, you are undervaluing Isaiah Stewart and what he brings to this team. And I can't stand it.
Yeah, I mean, Pistons Twitter can be a very toxic place, especially when you're scrolling at night. Some of the takes that you see, you're like, dude, there's no way someone believes that. There's no way. If fans are giving up on Isaiah Stewart in less than 3 years, I don't want to hear he's gonna be a Chris Middleton. He's gonna be Spencer Dinwiddie. You gave up on him. Like, shut up. He's a really good player. Like I said, he's probably gonna be your starting center. He is. At the end of the season, I mean, he was starting to put really good games together. I mean, they're letting him shoot more. They were letting him initiate the offense more with Cade with dribble handoffs. I don't even think they've scratched the surface with him yet. I mean, you have to chill out on these guys. I mean, Isaiah Stewart was drafted 16th overall. I mean, he wasn't like a top 5 pick. And the fact that, he plays with that energy, he's such a Detroiter in the sense of, the way he plays. I don't know why fans are giving up on him. I know there's a huge beef stew crowd out there. And if you say anything bad about him, you're getting canceled.
Yeah, and it's true. Like if you say good things, those people will come to your side and like drop likes, drop retweets. They'll comment. They'll share whatever. Like those guys are awesome. I love the Isaiah Stewart crowd. I love that crowd of people. I just can't stand that people want to give up on him. And for people that think that I'm crazy, because I did have someone message me and say that, dude, who are you talking about specifically? Like, who is saying this about Isaiah Stewart? Are you just making this up? And it's like, dude, I'm not making it up. It's a small number of Pistons fans, but it's like you're saying, just relax. Like, use the 16th pick. There's a lot to love about this guy's game. I mean, what was it? Like within 6 feet, I think the stat was he held players 10% lower than their average field goal percentage within 6 feet of the rim. Like that's a huge defensive thing that Isaiah Stewart brings to the table. Like he's very good defensively. He can switch on guards. Like he can hold his own in the post. He has that long wingspan. He can contest shots. He may not lead the league in blocks, but he is quickly becoming one of those guys you don't want to meet in the paint.
Yeah, I mean, that's my thing with Pistons fans is they're so quick to give up on a player when you don't know. Like Dwayne Casey said it today because he's going to be in the summer league, right? He never played in the summer league before. He had that ankle injury last year. I think there's so much there with him that, like, if he can become a respectable three-point shooter, that offense is going to open wide up for the Pistons and him. I think he's going to get better passing the basketball. I think defensively, he's got to calm down a little bit because he does get in foul trouble a lot.
He does.
Those are things that he can develop and work on. I mean, we're talking about a guy going into his 3rd season, and we're talking about a guy like, oh, well, he doesn't do this. Well, he doesn't do that. Well, he doesn't do this. I think they forget what Andre Drummond was like in his 3rd season or his 2nd season because he was making a lot of the same mistakes that Isaiah Stewart was making. Now, you can develop that with good coaching, and I think the Pistons have a good coaching staff where, Dwayne Casey can coach him up. They're bringing in Noel who can help him with his timing, with blocking shots. I think Isaiah Stewart is going to maybe be in the conversation for most improved.
Ooh, wow, I love that. Wow. Thank you for saying that. I hope that comes true. Fingers crossed, man, for real. Like I'm glad that we both love Isaiah Stewart as host of this podcast, man, because if you didn't, I'd have to find someone else. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, do you think fans are expecting too much from Jalen Duren right now as an 18-year-old player?
I do, and I get it. I get that you see this jumpy, athletic center that you're like, dude, this guy's going to be our starting center for years to come. But I know you've been hammering like, dude, he's going to be in the G League. He's going to be in the G League. Because you kind of look at the center position right now, it's log jammed. I mean, unless we trade Kelly Olynyk, like, where's he going to play? Like,
well, also, too, I just want to point out this stat. There's only been 28 players in the history of the NBA that have played an NBA game at the age of 18. Like, it's not like this happens all the time. You know what I'm saying? That's 28 players in 75 years of the NBA. And Devin Booker, he's on that list, but I think he played at 18 years old, 362 days. Like 18 years old, 362 days. So, like, he played one game as an 18-year-old. LeBron James played 31. Kobe, Tracy McGrady, they played the full season as 18-year-olds, but it just doesn't happen. And that adds to why I believe that Jalen Duren will be in the G League to start the season, because it's a grown man's league. 18-year-olds don't always thrive in the NBA. Like, it's a very rare thing. Like, Kobe Bryant leads, he has the highest average for an 18-year-old in the NBA at 7.8 points per game. And there are fans out there that expect Jalen Duren to take the spot from Isaiah Stewart and be the starting center from like 18 to 34. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a ridiculous thing it's a pedestal that you're putting a player on. You need to lower your expectations about Jalen Duren.
Or you have fans saying slide Stu to the 4 and Duren at the 5. And it's like, okay, that works in certain situations. I'll entertain that. But I think Stewart is going to be the starting center and Noel's going to come off the bench. Like I honestly think that would probably be the rotation or vice versa. Noel starts or Stewart's off the bench. Like I think Duren will play this season, but I think it's going to be in a very limited role. Like you said, 18 years old, not a lot of 18-year-olds play when they first entered the league. Knowing Dwayne Casey, he's going to want to bring him along slowly. He's not going to want to rush him. And I think he has the luxury of having so many centers on this team where he's not going to have to.
And the other thing too, like I like how you said too, bringing him along slowly. The Boston Celtics brought Robert Williams along slowly. He only played 33 games his rookie year for the Boston Celtics. He might have been hurt for some of the season. I know he spent like 5 or 6 games in the G League for their G League team. But my point is, like, look at Robert Williams. In his 4th year, I believe, he was all defensive second team. Jalen Duren, he has time. He doesn't need to start his rookie year. Like, it doesn't mean he's a bad player if he doesn't get a ton of minutes and if he doesn't play a lot of games for the Detroit Pistons. As long as he's developing and growing and maturing as a player, that's the win. That's what you should want from Jalen Duren his rookie year. Just growth. It doesn't have to be on the basketball floor. Like, it doesn't have to be huge numbers. It just has to be growth, maturity, and development. And he's going to get that in the G League, and he's going to get that watching guys, from the bench. Like, I have almost no expectations for Jalen Duren his rookie year because I just don't see him playing a ton of minutes. Like, I think more towards the end you will see something, and that's when you're going to get complaints where, like, we should have been playing this dude all along, but we didn't watch the development from the beginning of the season to where he'd be at. But again, like, I just don't think Jalen Duren's going to play a ton of minutes.
Yeah, I mean, if there's an injury, now you have more luxury with Duren coming off the bench. I mean, like I said, Pistons still have cap space. They have around $9 million. People are speculating Kelly's the next to go, but who knows? Maybe he wants to play Kelly at the 4. We really don't know. We don't know what Troy Weaver and Dwayne Casey want to do with this team. I think Duren's going to be a very good pro in this league, and I think fans. I know they want to be selfish. They want to see him right now, but I think if you develop him slowly, like you said, this is going to be a guy that is going to be a freaking monster out there. I don't know if you've seen some of the comparisons on social media, man, but it's pretty hysterical.
Who are they comparing him to?
Kevin Garnett.
What? I don't see that.
Yeah.
Dude, I see Dwight Howard more than anything.
You know who I see, and I'm probably going to get killed for it?
Is it Joey Dorsey?
Andre Drummond.
Oh, jeez. I think I hope if he's Andre Drummond, let him be the defensive version of Andre Drummond, something we never got.
Yeah, not like I think people forget, like, when Drummond was a rookie, when Rasheed Wallace was an assistant coach on this team, Drummond was a dog. And I don't know what happened, but that dog went away. Like, he was blocking shots, he was rim running, he was really active, and I think that's what Duren can be. Obviously, we hope that Duren doesn't turn into, the disaster what the Drummond was in Detroit, making a lot of, bad decisions off the court. We're not going to get into that. But, I mean, I think Duren is going to be a really solid pro, and we just have to be patient with him.
So that Andre Drummond you're talking about, the one with the dog in him, the one that, had something to prove, yes, I see that from Jalen Duren. That's why Stan Van Gundy came to Detroit. He saw Andre Drummond as a potentially another Dwight Howard. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a continuation from all of that. But Jalen Duren, let me just reiterate, I think he's going to be a solid player. And at the beginning of this topic, we're talking about Isaiah Stewart being undervalued. Stop undervaluing him, Pistons fans. Love Isaiah Stewart, man. He's going to be here for a long time. So the Detroit Pistons have dropped their summer league roster, and this roster includes all of Troy Weaver's draft picks: Cade Cunningham, Saddiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart, and Killian Hayes. What do you expect from those 4? Let me not even those 4. Do you expect to see Cade, Saddiq, and Isaiah Stewart play in the summer league? I know you dropped that quote from Dwayne Casey a couple of minutes ago, but same thing.
Yeah, I think I do. I think Dwayne Casey, at the end of the day, he's always preaching development. he's always preaching, hey, I want these guys to get most reps as possible. I think everyone knows Sadiq Bey is a gym rat. And if you told him, hey, Sadiq, you're playing in the summer league, he's happy because he wants to hoop at the end of the day. He wants to hoop. And I think Killian's going to play. Cade's going to play. I think we're going to see him just play, win that championship because we need that championship, bro.
We do need the championship, but we need the T-shirts that say Summer League Championship. I hope they make them in teal. I really do. No, I don't expect to see like Cade Cunningham and Sadiq Bey play a ton of minutes. I expect to see heavy minutes in the first game just to kind of see how they all gel and like what are we going to see with Isaiah Stewart? There's probably the first time we'll see Jaden Ivey start alongside Cade Cunningham as well. Like, I think that might be something we'll see from Summer League. I expect to see that, but after that first game, I don't expect to see a lot of Cade Cunningham and Sadiq Bey. I get it from Isaiah Stewart just because, the three-point shooting, we need to see that. We need to see him have a bigger role offensively. I see a lot of minutes for Killian Hayes because he is only 20 years old, and I mean, he missed most of his rookie year. He hasn't gotten really a full off season to develop his game and work on anything, and we're going to see a lot of him in Summer League. But outside of Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, who are you looking forward to watching the most?
I'll be basic and say Buddy Boeheim.
The pure shooter.
Like straight up. Like when I saw that quote from James Edwards saying that Rob Murphy and Troy have known him for years, I'm like, they had an inside scoop. They knew all along.
I'm kind of excited to watch. I am excited to watch Buddy Boeheim, but I really want to see Anthony Tark. This was a guy that I had faith in last year. Don't ask me why I had faith in Anthony Tark. He comes out of Coppin State, whatever. I believe he was Defensive Player of the Year and Player of the Year in his conference. Like, won both of those awards the same season. He's a 6'6" lefty. Like, I really wanted him to get an opportunity with the Pistons last year. He didn't do much in the G League, but I will be watching him in the Summer League for sure. Like, I'm a big fan of Anthony Tark.
So do you think we're winning the championship?
Oh, 100%.
If we roll out Cade and all those guys.
Oh, yeah. Dude, if they don't win, if they play Cade Cunningham, Sadiq Bey, and Isaiah Stewart like all 4 games majority of the time, they better be blowing guys out by like 25 points. Like, they're better. Like, a loss would be if they won by like 22. Like, dude, you got three really good NBA players right here. A guy that's probably going to be top 10, top 5 in the league in like 3 seasons. You better be winning games by 25 or more each night.
I hope so, man. Honestly, like, there's a lot of people that are pissed off that we have all those players on our Summer League roster. I don't know if you've been scrolling on Twitter. Like, people are like legitimately pissed that Cade's on the Summer League roster.
And, I hate to say this about fans, though, but like a lot of them, when they see things like that, you can tell they never played basketball because like summer was so important for like when I was in high school, playing as many games as we could, gelling with the team, because at the start of a high school year, and again, I'm not really comparing high school and the NBA, I'm just trying to make a point. You have so many months off before the season starts. So that summer, getting together with the team, gelling, working on plays that you're going to run during the season, playing against competition that is probably more superior to what you'll see during the regular season. Again, for high school, not the NBA. But that summer is so important. I think when fans criticize those moves by Dwayne Casey and Troy Weaver, like, why are you having our franchise players playing in summer league? Dude, because they're young and they need to still develop, and that developing that chemistry. And even if Cade only plays 1 game, but he learns where Jaden Ivey likes the ball in certain spots, that's a huge plus going into the regular season.
Yeah, for sure. Just hope that, we don't have any injuries like last year. I think that's a big thing why fans are like, look, what if he gets hurt? What if he rolls his ankle again? It's just like, hey, man, that's a risk you got to take.
Dude, Joseph Fourier for the Lions hurt his ankle like playing volleyball on the beach. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can get hurt no matter what you're doing. So I have no problems with them. Now, if Cade had a history of injuries, I'd be like, dude, why are you playing him? Like, let's just make sure he's healthy for the regular season. But as far as I know, Cade, Sadiq, and Isaiah Stewart, they don't have injury issues like that. So I'm not really too worried about it.
Yeah,
do you want to try to do the Q&A for people that are watching?
Yeah, we do have a couple super chats, so I do want to address them first. This is a question from Tony J. He said, "Do you think Kojo and Lee? We have too many point guards." I don't really.
Uh,
I think he's saying that maybe like cut one of them. Like who would we probably cut?
Corey Joseph. I still want to see what Saban Lee can do, man. I really do. I think there's still something in Saban Lee. Like I remember when he first got drafted, the one thing that I was really impressed by with him that he did in college that really hasn't translated to the NBA was getting to the rack, but also drawing fouls at the same time. Like that is something. I mean, we've seen Sadiq Bey take it to the rim. Like we
Yeah,
know he can do that. It's just I want to see him getting to the foul line. I just want to see him playing with more confidence and being more comfortable out there. So yeah, I would think if we have to cut somebody, it would be Corey Joseph.
yeah, that and like I think the Pistons, over the past like 5, 6 seasons, they've always had 3-point guards because of injuries. You really don't know, and I think Saban Lee had a hell of a year in the G League. Still think he got robbed for MVP because he was putting up 40 points a game, which is like crazy. Like I was actually watching G League tape. I never watched the G League, but I've seen he's dropping like 40, 45. I'm like, dude, I gotta watch this. Like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, I had to watch the G League too just for Saban Lee. He was going off last year. And I really do hope it translates at some point. I don't expect him to be no 30-point scorer in the NBA, but
No.
like, I mean, if he could just give you 15, 20 minutes a night off the bench and just look comfortable out there, that's a win in my book.
All right. We do have one more super chat from Adam Baydoun, host of the Morning Woodward Show. Andre Drummond, please don't do this to me. Fuck. Happy 4th, boys. Love you, Adam.
I appreciate you watching, bro. But what Anthony was saying, the dog version of Andre Drummond, that's the version we want with Jalen Duren. That guy that just wants to go out and prove to the NBA that he belongs. That's what that's the version of Jalen Duren or Andre Drummond we want.
Yeah, I know. When I said Andre Drummond, people got PTSD so freaking quick. Like when I saw that, I was just like, yeah, bro. Like I get it. It's just like I know a lot of people have been comparing him to Drummond too, which is like funny. And like I'm watching him and I'm just like, dude, he reminds me of a young Drummond. But like, hey, if you guys have a comp, I'd love to hear it.
Dude, Joey Dorsey, he also played for Memphis. Like I thought he was going to be. I don't know if did you ever watch Memphis basketball when Derrick Rose was there? Like, are you a big college basketball fan?
I, a little bit during tournament time, but I'm drawing a blank with like Derrick Rose on Memphis, like
Oh
straight up.
man. So I'm not even talking about like Joey Dorsey was on the team. He was like a 3-year college player for Memphis. But I thought that guy was going to be like the next Ben Wallace. He was super athletic, like really well built, could jump out of the gym. He would block a shot and send it to like the 10th row into the arena. Dude, Joey Dorsey was incredible in college, did absolutely nothing in the NBA, but it's just that physical comparison, that athletic ability, that timing for blocking shots, just rolling to the rim. I kind of see a little like a developed Joey Dorsey and Jalen Duren. And I might be aging myself with the Joey Dorsey comparison.
I mean, we got Amari Stoudemire in the chat.
Oh wow, okay,
Not as
that's
polished,
interesting.
but I could see where he's going with that one. I mean, I feel like people get so obsessed with comparisons, and it's just like we try to attach a name to a player and not let the player like be good.
I don't think always comparing like rookies or young guys to established superstars like an Amari Stoudemire, like a Kevin Garnett. It's just, do we have to do that? I mean, just because a player bounced out of the league doesn't mean they weren't good. Doesn't mean you still can't make a comparison to them. I mean, if Jalen Duren is like Kenneth Faried, are we really going to be disappointed?
I know some Pistons fans would be because, like
Oh,
I
come on.
said, I've seen so many Kevin Garnett comparisons, or he needs to work with Kevin Garnett, or I think he could be the next Kevin Garnett. It's like
What are they basing that on,
I
though?
think it's jump shot a little bit. I like mechanical wise, like
Hmm.
they're similar, but it's just that I think people forget who KG was in Minnesota.
Yeah, are we really acting? This dude played point guard in the '04 Western Conference Finals when they lost Terrell. I think his name, not Brandon. Wow, I'm blanking on the dude's name.
What Sprewell?
No, not Spreewell. There was a point guard that they had. It wasn't. It was the backup under Sam Cassell. But anyways, I remember the Minnesota Timberwolves. They lost their starter and they lost their backup, and they asked Kevin Garnett to play point guard. Like, are we really comparing Jalen Duren to a guy that was 7'1" that could play point guard in the Western Conference Finals? Like, come on, guys. Like, that's what we mean by lowering the expectations. Like, you're putting Jalen Duren right up here, and you're going to be very disappointed in because he'll never like Kevin Garnett's one of those players like that's it's such an unobtainable height. That's why we've only seen one Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, like I said, if he produces, I'm happy. I have pretty low expectations. Like if he produces at a high level, I'm happy if we actually hit on a draft pick because we've had a history of missing on a lot. If we hit on a draft pick, I'm happy.
Hey, Troy Weaver's hit on a few of them.
Oh man. Some guy said he thought Bismack Biyombo was going to be the next Ben Wallace. Tony
Dude,
J. Stop to Tony J.
Tony, I'm with you, man. I did too. We got any more questions from people?
Yeah, I'm just scrolling. Someone had a question about projection, a rotation projection. You want to take that one?
What's your? Oh, yeah. So my starting lineup, I'll start with that. I think it's going to be Cade, Alec Burke, not Corey Joseph anymore. Alec Burke, Sadiq Bey. I think then Nerlens Noel and Isaiah Stewart are going to round out the front court. Whoever you want to put at the 4 and the 5. I think Kelly Olynyk will be the backup 5. I think Marvin Bagley will be the backup 4. I think you're going to see some minutes from Isaiah Livers at the 3. Then you're going to see Jaden Ivey and Killian Hayes round out the backcourt. I don't think you're going to see a lot of Corey Joseph this year with all the moves they've made.
Yeah,
that'd be my 10-man rotation, I guess.
I'm only brave enough to give you a starting 5. I don't even know what the bench would look like. I think you're obviously going to see Cade, Burks, Sadiq. I'm going with Marvin Bagley at the 4 and Isaiah Stewart at the 5.
Dude, I just think it's going to be Nerlens, man.
I don't know, man. I just think that Casey might stick to his guns, see how it works. And like we've seen him, he'll change a lineup. He's not afraid to. But I mean, like, don't change a lineup like the next day, you know?
I guess the other point of me thinking Marvin Bagley off the bench, like give Killian Hayes that vertical threat, but also give him another offensive playmaker. Give him another guy that can take pressure off him from not scoring. Like Marvin Bagley's a scorer. Like that's what he is. So I think if you pair him with Killian Hayes, you're taking pressure off of Killian Hayes to be like the guy off the bench in that second unit.
Yeah, for sure. Got my guy Bravo, who I used to do a lot of live streams with. He had an interesting comp with Duren. I know you've been saying this guy's name a lot. Rob Williams and Aneka Okongwu from Atlanta.
I love that. I've been saying Robert Williams for like a couple of weeks now. I don't think I said it on this podcast, but I've definitely made the comparison to Jalen Duren to Rob Williams. Bravo, great. Bravo for that comparison.
Yeah, for sure. Bravo is pretty spot on with like a lot of his analysis when it comes to like drafting stuff. And I will give him credit. I gave him so much shit for this. People that, have been following the channel for a while, they remember. Bravo told us that Blake Griffin would only average 13 points when he was still here before, he had that knee injury. He's just like, yeah, he's going to average like 13 points and he's going to suck. We roasted him for that, but he was pretty damn spot on.
Aren't you kind of happy though that Blake Griffin is on the Brooklyn Nets and like they're just burning down before our eyes?
I saw a report he might go to LA because he's a free agent.
Oh my god!
Just like, man, reunite with the Clippers.
Yeah, that'd be if he does that after running away from Steve Ballmer. Dude, Blake is a bigger bitch than I thought. God. Jeez.
Did you want to get into I don't know how much time you have, but the Hawks, DeJounte Murray and Trae Young.
Bro, yes, we can talk about that for a second. I didn't initially love the trade right away because I love Dante Murray, man. I thought he was a franchise point guard for San Antonio. I thought he would be there for a long time. I get it, though, and why they're moving him. He's too good to get to tank for, Victor Wembanyama or, one of the other players in the top 5. But I'm kind of loving that backcourt now. I started thinking about it. You're probably going to see a lot of Trae Young off the ball, kind of like how they use Steph Curry in Golden State. So, yeah, dude, I love it. Like, I love the trade. I love that backcourt. I think they're going to be phenomenal together. They're going to give up quite a bit of size, though, having, Trae Young and Dante Murray out there. But, I think it's going to be a fun backcourt for Atlanta.
Yeah, I thought about it right away because I know people are like, oh, Cade and Ivy, best backcourt in the Eastern Conference. And someone in Atlanta's like, yo, hold my beer. Like, I think that's what we're going to see, though. Like, when you talk about the future of the NBA, I think you're going to start seeing more of these, like, point guard, shooting guard lineups like that, like taller guards. And I think it's a home run trade for Atlanta, honestly, because now you can hide Trae Young defensively with DeJounte Murray.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't have to worry too much about him defensively now.
Yeah, like
didn't San Antonio though get a ton of first round picks though for that trade as well?
I believe so, and they're going to be buying out Bogdanovich, and he's going to be going to Boston apparently. So Boston, they're having a really good offseason too. Like,
do you mean Danilo Gallinari?
That's who I thought of. I knew it was a foreign guy. My bad, you guys.
What move do you like more, though, for Boston? I mean, do you like the Malcolm Brogdon, bringing him in for Boston, or Dante Murray to Atlanta? Like, what's been your – or Rudy Gobert to Minnesota? What's been your favorite trade out of those three?
Probably the Brogdon one because they didn't have to give up crap.
Yep.
Like Daniel Tice and a salary filler, really? That's all you could get? Like, that's all you could get. Like, did Brad Stevens, block all the callers when he was making that trade? Like, man, that's a steal. I think that's the point guard they've been missing, honestly.
Yeah. Go on. My bad.
No, this is the guy that's a low-maintenance point guard and that's not like a selfish star like a Kyrie,
Dude, 100%, man. And Malcolm Brogdon is such a solid player, man. Like, I'm just looking at his numbers right now. He averaged 21 last season, 56 games for Indiana, 21, 5 and 6. Like, he's a big guard. He can play defense. He's a consistent shooter. He knows how to get guys involved. You can play him at either guard spot. Love that trade for the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, but Isaiah Roby from OKC got released today. He was actually a Pistons draft pick. Yeah, he was a Pistons draft pick during the Servetus draft. I don't even know why I attach his name, but it just pops in my head. But Bravo brought up that he might be available because he's going to be on the waiver wire, and we could release Braxton Key to get him.
Oh, I don't want to lose Key, though.
Yeah, Braxton Key was actually pretty nice. But Isaiah Roby, I mean, you look at his numbers, he's actually pretty underrated.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm looking at it right now. He averaged 10 and 5 in 21 minutes last year. Wow. Yeah, okay, yeah, I give a Braxton Key for a shot at Isaiah Roby. Yeah. Just looking at the numbers, it convinced me. Yeah, we can give a Braxton Key. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's funny because we drafted him, and then every time we played against him, he just kicked our ass. It's just like, man.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I had no idea who this guy was, man. Oh yeah, Pistons second round pick, 44th overall. Wow. I don't know how that slipped my mind.
Yeah, I think we traded him to Dallas, if I remember correctly, and then he somehow ends up in OKC for whatever. It's just like, man, that's crazy. This is probably the funniest comment we've got today. If I'm the Nets, Kyrie's going to Orlando.
I don't even know what's going on with Kyrie Irving, to be perfectly honest, though. But they are. Did you see that rumor where the Lakers are trying to trade Russell Westbrook for him? My dream is coming true that Russell Westbrook is being traded for Kyrie Irving, and potentially you might have Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant on the same team, even if they don't play together, just for a brief moment. That's hilarious.
The storylines that would bring would be must-see TV. KD and Russell Westbrook reunited, Kyrie going back to LeBron, Anthony Davis. Man, that would be I know it's not going to happen. KD's probably going to end up I don't know, Miami or Phoenix, it sounds like, but they don't really have anything to give up, so it's weird.
So my thing is, if KD goes to Miami, people are going to make fun of him for doing what LeBron James did. And I know KD doesn't want that.
Yeah, and he's jumped ship way more. They're talking about him going back to Golden State.
Yeah, I saw that, which would just be – I don't even think Golden State would take him back. I mean, I know he's super talented, but I don't know. I just don't like. They just won a championship without him. They don't need him. They don't need to break up what they did for him.
You don't think they would trade Jordan Poole and the like Wiseman and a couple salary fillers for him?
I mean, if you can get rid of Jordan Poole and Wiseman for Kevin Durant, yeah, you got to take it. As long as you're not getting rid of Moody or Kaminga, yeah, dude, that'd be fine, I guess. I just don't see the Warriors doing it though because they just won.
I don't know. I feel like they might do it, honestly, just to get a couple more rings out of it. Like, imagine if Steph gets another ring, man. Like that'd be insane. Like
He's gonna get another one though.
KD can't win without Steph. Like I can already hear like the headlines. Like that's crazy to me.
Now, doesn't it kind of feel like that the Finals MVP he won really shouldn't have gone to him because he hasn't been able to do anything in Brooklyn? I mean, I know we're talking about like it
Yeah,
was the NBA Finals that he won it in, but it's just hilarious that he was named the Finals MVP over Steph Curry, and Steph Curry wins a championship without Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant can't make it out of the second round without Steph Curry. It's beautiful.
yeah. I forget. It was I think it was First Things First or Speak for Yourself. It was a show on FS1, and I don't remember who it was, but it was basically saying how Steph Curry makes people around him better. What has Kevin Durant made anyone? He hasn't made anyone better. Like Steph Curry has made Clay better. He's made Draymond better. He got KD 2 rings. KD has never made anyone better around him. I was
Mm.
just like, man, I never thought of it like that. Like that's crazy.
Kevin Durant, though, man, it kind of stinks to like laugh at his demise because he is such a good basketball player. And I mean, I'm sure he's a decent person. If I ever got to meet him, I'm sure he'd be, pretty cool and pretty chill for the most part. But it's just kind of fun to watch him, because I mean, he was like that one superstar that everybody loved. Like he could do no wrong when he was in Oklahoma City. And then he just seems to be making weird decisions ever since he left Oklahoma City, where now you're like, I'm kind of rooting for you just to kind of fail, bro.
I said the same thing, Dwayne. Same damn thing. I didn't think the Nets would make it out of the first round. I think Boston was just going to, take care of them. I think Boston was like the worst outcome for Brooklyn this year to play in the first round. Um, but man, like the Nets are a dumpster fire, man. Like
Dude,
I remember,
oh, go on, my bad.
I just remember all those fans. It's like saying how many championships they're gonna win, and then Kyrie pulls his, I'm not getting the vaccine crap, and then like, oh man,
He became too big of a distraction. Like, I really thought James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant really could make some noise in the playoffs. Like, I thought that was because you had the glue guy in James Harden. He knows how to control the pace, he knows how to get people involved. He'd be the de facto point guard between the two. Kyrie Irving, he's that scorer. Kevin Durant, he's the scorer, but he's also that go-to guy when you need a bucket in a pinch. They had those three combined. I mean, I thought they were going to be real solid, but the distractions and the headaches that come along with those three, it just didn't work out.
yeah, and they're about to lose both of them for probably nothing. I think as for Devin Booker for Kevin Durant, like, are you serious? You ain't getting no Devin Booker.
Dude, Phoenix would be silly for trading Devin Booker for Kevin Durant. Like, I mean, if Kevin Durant was a little bit younger, yeah, I mean, dude, it'd be a no-brainer in my opinion. I think Kevin Durant truly is a better basketball player than Devin Booker, but you're going to get that many more great years out of Devin Booker than, maybe an opportunity at a championship with Kevin Durant, even though Devin Booker put you in position to win a championship.
Yeah, honestly. Um, I know Bravo had one more question, then we'll wrap things up because we got way off topic with this NBA talk. I mean, I could do it all damn night.
Same. But I don't think anybody wants to listen to a 5-hour podcast.
No, I don't think so. So Bravo had a question. Do you feel Ivy starts or he's off the bench?
I feel like he's off the bench to start the season. Look, Russell Westbrook came off the bench for his first 17 games in the NBA, and he became a two-time MVP. The second player to average a triple double. I'm not comparing Jaden Ivey to Russell Westbrook. I'm just saying, like a great player like Russell Westbrook, he started his career off the bench for the Oklahoma City Thunder. So I don't think it's a bad thing for Jaden Ivey to start off the bench.
Now that we have Burks, I think he might start for a few games until kind of Ivy gets his footing. Because I don't want Ivy to be in the same situation Killian Hayes was in, where we just kind of throw him out there and he's developing bad habits. I think he will start, but probably like maybe he's starting in December instead of like October. Like I think you could move Burks to the bench, but let him get his confidence up off the bench. Let him run the second unit with Killian Hayes. I think that would be a really good, off the bench combo with those two. But I think he will be the starting shooting guard, but not right away.
Yeah, I think, if this was a question for like the beginning of the season, I think Jaden Ivey starts off the bench. But I do think, really, like you're saying, like around December, you're going to start to see Ivey, you're going to see him as the starting two guard for the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, it's just to MK's point, Killian was all alone. Ivy will have Cade. Yeah, I'm just saying from the standpoint of where like you don't want him to develop bad habits while he's out there. Like if he's on the bench and he makes a mistake, he can get coached up on the side. Not look against bench players, not starters. That's just my standpoint from it. Like obviously, everyone's going to have different opinions about it, but I think starting him right away might slow down his development a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with Ivy coming off the bench. Like you have a real opportunity. You get to play with Killian Hayes. He's going to put you in good situations, but also in the second unit, if you're Ivy, there's going to be a real opportunity for you to be the ball dominant guard. Where you're going to have the ball in your hands, kind of like creating and just to see what you can do against an NBA defense. He's going to get a lot of opportunity to be the guy off the bench for the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, I mean, like I said it last podcast. Like the selfish part of me wants to see him start right away, but I want this to develop right, and I want to see him develop good habits, be a really good cutting shooting guard, hit his 3-point shots. And I think if you play him off the bench for maybe a couple of weeks, let him get his footing. I think when he starts, he's going to have that confidence up, and he won't make those mistakes when he's starting out there with Cade.
Do you think he's going to be a better defender in the NBA than he was in college just because he's going to have a less of a role and have more energy to expel on that side?
I think if they switch everything like they did last year, I think you're going to see a lot of Sadiq covering for Marvin Bagley if he does start and Ivy. But I think he can be an above average defender in the NBA. I think defense is all about effort. And if he gets the effort, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, so real quick before we wrap this up, think about Ivy defensively. If you go to the advanced stats, just on like Sports Reference or whatever, Basketball Reference, you can go to like steal and block percentage. And I believe those stats are like, they're kind of like defensive creation stats, and blocks. I think his was like 1.6. I'm doing this from memory. So it shows that, it's not a high percentage for blocks, but it shows that he's able to contest shots and get a hand on the ball. But also his steal percentage, I believe, was in the 2s, which is a good indication that he has active hands and knows how to play the passing lanes.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of opportunities for him to play the passing lanes. And you see, like if you watched him at Purdue, some of the blocks that he had, like chasing guys in transition, like I think he can be a really good defender. And I think, the future backcourt is going to be Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey. But I think the Pistons will just play it safe until they feel that he's ready to be an everyday starter.
Same. And I think that's a great way to end the podcast. Thank you guys for everybody that watched the live show, that dropped questions. We really do appreciate it. For everybody listening, please subscribe to the Pistons Talk podcast, drop a rating, leave a comment. Follow me on Twitter at Lance Caparosi. Anthony, where can they follow you?
Yeah, Pistons Talk, if they don't already. We appreciate you guys hopping in with us for almost an hour and 20 minutes. We had over 70 people watching with us live. You guys dropped a lot of questions. I do apologize if I didn't answer them. If you do want to drop those questions again, whether you want to reach out on Instagram or Twitter, my DMs are always open. Appreciate you guys watching this podcast and letting us talk basketball to you guys on this Sunday evening. We're out of here, you guys. Peace.